Kagurabachi is starting to heat up in the craziest way possible, guys. I am loving the flashback that we have been getting. Hokuzono is just slowly taking his time to build the fire up, and the fire is starting to burn. Do you guys feel it? Do you guys see it? Oh my gosh, what a chapter we got. What a lore drop we got. There is so much information in this chapter. I had to read it like 3-4 times, guys. I am having like a brain overload. I'm having a aneurysm of theories spinning around in my head right now. I can't believe where the story is going. Every time I read a Kagurabachi chapter, I am in awe of how Hokuzono has me wrapped on my seat from start to finish. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Today, we are talking about the one and only Kagurabachi Chapter 115. So let's just jump right into it, guys. Picking up fresh off the heels of last chapter where we were introduced to Subaru Urita, we pick up with a different character, and his name is Joji, right? And he's talking to another guy, Mr. Masumi, and basically we're in the Tensky, the research center, right? So these are the guys that are researching the stone. They're trying to bring out its properties, right? And this is when Subaru Urita walks in. And last chapter, they told us that this guy was just a sushi chef, okay? He's just a sous chef, Gordon Ramsay type, all right? Guys, do not be fooled. This guy is a sicko, because he says making sushi, forging swords, the art of the blade, they are all nigiri, the craft I have dedicated myself to. So this guy is a guy of many talents, you know, like he's a bit mysterious, you know, like just in the way he's conducting himself, right? But they're basically talking about the stone, right? They're still just trying to make a breakthrough with the Detenseki, right? And he says when you channel spirit energy into it, it produces such an enormous burst of energy that the person who is holding on to it, they explode, right? Like they have absolutely no way to conduct the amount of spirit energy that flows through the Detenseki. Holy, that one is a tongue twister, guys. Say that like 10 times. Detenseki. Like, oh my god. But they brought in Subaru because his swords are exceptionally smooth at conducting spirit energy, right? And they bring out this book that he's written apparently, and they're asking him like, can you show us the details, like what's the secret of the book? And this guy's like, yo, guess what, you won't find any evidence, it's all bullshit, it's bull, I just made it up, you know? He's like, there's no material that can conduct spirit energy, you know? The guy's like, oh, but in your book. And he's like, rubbish, I pulled it out of my ass, literally. Like, I'm not even joking, guys, the man literally says that, right? And he's like, I'm not about to hand a bunch of my swords to a bunch of wannabes, you know? He's like, the secret is very simple, I forge it, you know? Like, he must have like that perception, that same ability that Rokuhiro has, you know, where he can just look at it and he can see the little imperfections, you know, the flowing of the spirit energy through the rock, you know. But after he says that, he throws a pencil at this guy Joji, right? And my man Joji just slices it in half, right? Subaru's like, oh, okay, you're a good sword fighter, you know. He's like, you have a nice sword too, but try my sword, you know. He's like, it's just an ordinary sword, but you know, feel the difference. And Joji picks it up and bow, you know, he cuts one of the guy's hands off, you know. The guy's like starts screaming, but it's just an illusion, you know. Joji's like, wow, that's a impressive sword, like that's crazy, like how did you do that, you know? And this is where we get a very in-depth look at how spirit energy runs through the swords, right? Subaru, he explains, when lightning strikes, it seeks out places of high electrical conductivity, thin air, high humidity. It splinters as it strikes. Spirit energy is the same. Through minute disturbances to carbon content and structural variations produced by the quenching process, minute pathways are produced in the blade that allows spirit energy to flow, and I call them veins. So this guy Subaru is a sicko. Essentially, he's discovered a way to forge the sword and run spirit energy through it, right? And that's where he says, normally such veins are naturally occurrent, but I design them so that spirit energy can be channeled through the blade, right? So this is just like somebody who has high spirit energy. If they're wielding the sword, they can imbue their spirit energy into that, right? And then he says, that's why my blades have the pristine ability to slay, right? Joji's like, wow, like this is the ultimate blade. But then Subaru continues, right? And he says, if the Daten Seki produces immense levels of spirit energy, if I create the appropriate veins, it should be possible to control it. And if that works, then we're truly gonna have an enchanted blade, right? Because if he can turn a regular sword and make it that sick by just running the veins through the sword, you know, by eyeing them and discovering where they're flowing, to now take the Daten Seki itself, that's already like full of spirit energy, and to make a sword out of that, like boom, of course you're gonna end up with these overpowered sword. Of course, like look at Toby Mone. Crazy Magitsumi. You know what I mean? Like no wonder, like I'm curious though, like how do you bring out the properties to like okay, if you're using the Daten Seki for every sword, how are you making them like different? You know, like is there something with the ore that you have to do? Because you know what I mean, like how do you get Crow, how do you get Toby Mune, Kumiyuri, Magitsumi? You know what I mean? Like how do you get all those different blades, and you clearly have higher tiers of strength? You know what I mean? Like Magitsumi is obviously the strongest one. So did they use a higher amount of the ore, the Daten Seki ore, when they were making that? Like, is that what makes the enchanted blade more powerful? Maybe like for like Toby Mune, they're only mixing like half Daten Seki and like half steel or something, you know? And Magitsumi's like a full Daten Seki. I don't know, you know, I'm just trying to, but it's something to keep in mind. But anyway, halfway through this demonstration, boom, Shiba, he pops in the room, you know? Subaru's a demon too, you know? Because the minute he pops in, oh, Subaru's got a blade right to Shiba's neck, you know? He's not playing. And Joji's like, Shiba, you know? Like, what are you doing here? And Shiba's like, okay, you know, hold up. Like, let me at least introduce you, you know? Let me explain why I just broke into the meeting, you know? And he's like, this is Rokuhira, you know? He forges katana, you know? Subaru's like, Rokuhira, I've never heard of this guy. Like, who is this, right? Rokuhira's like, dude, aren't you Subaru? Like, he's fangirling, you know? He gives Subaru a handshake, and Subaru's like, whoa, like, he's got a strong grip, you know? Like, he's clearly sensing that Rokuhira is, like, built different. He's made for this shit. And he asks him, like, how many katana have you forged? And Rokuhira's like, over 200, you know, which is crazy work, because we know that he doesn't even like sell his swords like that. So what is he doing? Like, he's just forging swords for the fun of it? Like, I don't really, that part, like, I'm a little confused on, because if he's not selling his swords, like, he's just got a bunch of them in storage, you know, like he's just been practicing, trying to make like the perfect blade or something. Yeah, I don't know. But one of the guys says, that many at your work, like, that's impossible, you know, unless you've been breaking the association rules of 2 per month, which is crazy work. How can you be a bladesmith, a blacksmith, and you're only allowed to make 2 katana a month? Bruv, that's crazy work. I should be allowed to make as many. But if I wanna make a katana for every single occasion of the year, I should be able to do that. You know, these guys are wilding out, trying to tell mans they can't make katanas. Like, bruh, what are you guys talking about? But in any case, Shiba encourages Rokihira to just talk up. You know, he's like, tell them what you find. And this is when Rokihira, you know, boom. Anytime, you know, if he's not in work mode, he's just in his chill, laid back mode. But when he turns on that work mode, holy, the guy is a hoss, you know, like very intelligent, very smart, because he gets all eyes on him with his little demonstration. You know, he's like, it reacts strongest to spirit energy, but it's also capable of amplifying heat, you know? He's like, just eyeballing it, I'd estimate that at about 1,000 degrees, its reactivity will equal its reactivity to spirit energy. In other words, before it reaches the melting point of iron ore, which means that to forge it, like, he's on it already. And mind you, Shiba only gave him a little piece of the rock just to see, right? It's not like he's actually forged with it or experimented with it, nothing. He's just held it up in his hand, right? Like, Rokihira is a different type of animal, right? And this is when all the bigwigs in the room are, they're like, how is this guy, how does he know all this shit? You know? He's like, how does he know about our findings? He's like, stop writing, you don't belong here, right? You're trying to figure out how to process the dead Tenseki so it can be forged. The guy's like, it can't be forged. Rokihira's like, I can do it. Like, what do you guys don't know nothing. I can do it, easy peasy, no problem. That's when they all just start spazzing out, you know? They all get mad, and they're like, yo, you guys are about to be punished, and boom. Next thing we know, Rokihira, Shiba, these guys are in the back of the cart, you know? Like, they're being thrown in jail or something, you know? Like, and it's crazy. And basically, I guess they're gonna get taken off to the bigwigs, and Shiba's gonna have some explaining to do, you know? But the last 2 pages, we get Mamushi. What was that his name? Oh, what's his name? It's not Mamushi. Mashiro. Oh my gosh. Sorry guys, I've got Boruto on the mind. I'm calling this guy Mamushi. But we end the chapter with Mashiro, right? And Subaru grabs the sword that Shiba gave him last week, you know, one of Rokihira's swords. And he's looking at the sword, and he's just smirking at it, and he's like, cheeky punk, because he's like, why haven't I ever heard about this guy? And Mashiro's like, he's super selective about who he sells his katana to. And the way Subaru's looking at the work, it's like he's admiring the work. So, guys, one thing I'm very confused about, and that's pretty much where we end the chapter, guys, right? Subaru, he's inspecting the sword. Shiba and Rokihira, they're on their way to, not prison, but I guess a hearing or something. But here is the kicker, guys. We know that Subaru is a wielder of the enchanted blades. So now I'm starting to wonder if he's just going to impart a little knowledge onto Rokihira, and it's not going to be like a tag team like I was thinking, you know, because when they brought in the swordsman, this was the guy they brought in, and he clearly knows how to funnel spirit energy through swords, right? But we know that he's one of the wielders. We had no idea. Like in the past, if you guys remember, even when they brought up Rokihira forging the swords, they never ever mentioned somebody else. They never mentioned him having a partner, him doing it with somebody else. They've always just said Rokihira forged every enchanted blade. So I don't think that he's going to be too involved in the forging of the blades, and it looks like he's just going to be a wielder. Honestly, it looks like Mashiro's confirmed, like maybe Mashiro's going to be one of the wielders that we see, and maybe even this guy Shoji, you know? He seems very, very, I don't know. There's a reason that, you know, Hokuzono shoved him right into the front of the chapter. Front page of the chapter, we start with Shoji. We get a display of his sword skills. He's most definitely an enchanted blade wielder. Like, that's like 5 confirmed, guys. at this point, I'm just waiting to see Chihiro's mom confirmed as a wielder. And that's it, guys. We're like 5 for 5 on the theories. So if you're loving Kagurabachi, hit that subscribe button because we are here every week. And the flashback arc, the Seitei War arc, is getting insane. But Subaru, guys, he's a demon certified. I'm pretty sure, 1000% sure that Rokuhiro is going to forge the blades himself. Subaru's a wielder. We already know that. We still have a lot to see, guys. Like, we haven't even got to like the big stuff. We don't know where Akamura is. We don't know where Samurai is. We don't know where any of the big dogs are. So just keep hanging on, guys, because it is about to get crazy. Drop your theories in the comments below. Is Soji a enchanted blade wielder? Number 5 confirmed? Who knows? Who knows? But keep it in the back of your mind, guys. Hit that comment button, guys. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Where do you think we're going next with the story? How is Rokuhiro going to get out of prison? Because Shiba's going to have a lot of explaining to do in the next couple chapters. Let me know, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. We will be back with the next one next week. Thank you.